I am from Jamaican and Belizean heritage. So I spent my first years in Jamaica. One of the earlier memories is actually having my brother's bicycle taken away by someone who was stealing in the neighborhood, and my brother was young at the time. He was willingly giving away his bicycle. And then there's another memory of us sitting on the fence watching a group of policemen show up. We thought they were policemen, they were in uniform, and they just completely burglarized the house, we found out later on. And that was Jamaica back in the 70s. We eventually moved. I moved to Belize when I was 7. But when we moved to Belize City, we found that there were no burglar bars in Belize City. And we thought this is paradise, this is freedom. And I think that's why our father insisted that we move back to Belize. We used to go by the seaside. At that time it was all mangrove, and we ran into George Brown once, and he asked, "Do you want to go sailing?" And I also had a friend at that time who was sailing along with George, and he kind of, through peer persuasion, said it will be fun. So we jumped into Maggie B. I remember the boat well, and we went sailing. Our only job was to bail out the boat, but for us, we were willing to do the work. Sailing for the first time, there's a mixture of thrill, there's a element, a danger in it, because the boat is keeling over on the side and you could tip over at any time. But it was also, I think that was part of the fun. You wanted to get wet, you wanted to see what would happen next. I think any teenager does things and tests the limits, and he likes that. Sailing, I think, filled a serious void for us in the neighborhood, because there were no playgrounds to speak of. Once in a while, an open lot where someone was about to do construction would be enough for us to play a game for a few months, but once construction started, you had to move away. It did come to the point, though, where Sir George had risen to that title and was appointed Chief Justice. So he didn't have the time anymore to spend on his boats the way he used to. I had never owned a boat, and I always crewed on these boats, and I came to the realization that I'm without a captain or without a crew, without a boat. And at the same time, the regatta circuit was on a decline. We were expanding our marine protected area system in Belize, and I thought, I love the sea. I've been around, traveled to Gales Point, up north, down south. I know a little bit. Maybe I'll pursue this. It's too good to be true. I like the sea, I like sailing, and it happened that it worked out. I guess the stars aligned, and I found a career that's partly an enjoyment for me, and I've been doing it ever since. And also, there was the startup from other sailing fanatics of Sea Scouts, and secretly it was an opportunity for me to get in the boat. So I helped out, I offered to help out. And then they turned around and said, you know, you could run this here. And I've been doing it ever since. Part of what I've benefited from is what some would call paying it forward. When Mr. Brown took me on and taught me what he knew, I feel somewhat of an obligation to pass that on. And so even though I don't want to go every Sunday sailing, when the boys show up, there's no way you can tell them, no, I'm not going out sailing today. And eventually you realize that you enjoy it too, so there's some benefits for you. And I still haven't owned a boat. So there's a community model that the Sea Scouts promote, and even the Sailing Association that just started out 2 years ago. Sea Scouts has been around since 2003, and I think we're close to maybe 200 boys passing over our decks, we call it. And the Sailing Association is trying to do that on a grander scale, on a national scale. And so we wish them well, and we try and support them by trying to put out the best sailors we can, and then asking them to pay it forward.
I look into the window of my mind, reflections of the fears I know.